The sixth phase of answering the call to do more with your life is about developing the emotional resilience to help you face the challenge ahead. And in this video, I'm going to talk about trust and faith. If you've been watching these videos to date, you may be thinking, well, this has already been quite a challenge. So what's the real challenge ahead that we need to create emotional resilience for? Answering the call to do more with your life is a challenging path. This is not the easy, softer option. But if you have been following this, you'll know that you've already taken the red pill in phase 4. So really you've got no option. This is the way to go forward. And I would suggest developing emotional resilience is something that's really important. So trust and faith I'm going to talk about today, and these are really big topics. It'd be easy for me to get carried away and start talking about stuff that I'm really not qualified to talk about, let's face it. So as ever, I'm really just going to talk about my own perception, my own experience and opinions of this. And if you want to contribute to that or talk back to me or argue with me, I welcome that. And I'm happy to learn and grow from you as well, and hope you will from me. So I do invite that. I'll be really happy to engage in any discussion about that and learn about your experience, particularly if it contradicts mine. I'm just going to make a little definition about what trust and faith is, so we know what we're talking about. But I always like to go back to the etymology of a word, the actual, meaning of a word, to understand what it means and how it applies to me. Now, the etymology of the word trust comes from the word strong. So for me, trust is about creating a strong and stable foundation within myself and within life. And faith is about loyalty. So trust and faith hand in hand. A faith would be a loyalty towards that trust or that strong, stable foundation that you've created. And when you have a loyalty towards something, you act as if you are loyal towards it. So the act of faith is about acting as if you trust. So together, trust and faith should form a really good, strong foundation in your life that will help you develop the emotional resilience. Now, I just want to distinguish from something else, because a lot of people come to me looking for confidence. I want to be confident. I want to feel confident when I go out into the world. And for me, I don't really like the pursuit of confidence. It's not something that sits so comfortably with me. Now, fundamentally, confidence really is about the same thing as trust and faith, I guess. I feel that confidence is often misunderstood. And the way we achieve confidence can sometimes be in a very false way. Now, for me, to talk about my experience here, for me, true confidence comes with competence. Now, I'm a beekeeper. My husband and I are beekeepers, and we're in our 4th season of beekeeping now, and it's going well. But for the first 3 years of beekeeping, I didn't enjoy it that much. I didn't really feel confident in what I was doing. I felt I would go into, particularly the first year, this doing our bee inspections you have to do every week when you're a beekeeper. I don't know what I'm looking for. What if I get it wrong? I don't know this environment. It's all new and unfamiliar for me. And for me, my natural reaction to the unfamiliar and the uncertain is not one of confidence. It's always one of uncertainty. So for me, I don't go in with that confidence, but I go and do it anyway. And I build up the experience and I build up the knowledge. And I've spent time around bees now, and I've come to understand their nature and come to understand what all the signals mean. And this year, I've started to really enjoy the beekeeping, and I've started to look forward to the inspections, and I've started to really just enjoy being in it, and that's kind of reflected on my Instagram stories if anybody's ever seen those. I'm constantly going on about beekeeping, but so for me, that the confidence that enables me to enjoy the beekeeping has come with competence. So that's really how I experience confidence with competence. You may experience it differently, I don't know, you may understand it differently, but for me that is what confidence is for me. And I can confidently talk about beekeeping now, and I can confidently upload my pictures because I'm not frightened of it all being wrong and all that kind of stuff. But I think that, that could be a little bit of a trap, looking for confidence all the time. Well, certainly could be for me, because if confidence comes with competence, it means that I've got to be operating in an environment where I feel safe and comfortable in order to feel confident. I've got to be in the known. I've got to be in a place where I'm feeling like I know what I'm doing. And this path, answering the call to do more with your life, is not about being in the known and the comfortable. It's about being in the unknown. It's about growing, and it's about challenging yourself. Now, I believe, and it's my experience, if anybody knows my work who's watching this, I do a lot of work around self-doubt, and particularly the value of self-doubt. And I'm definitely going to be coming on to talking more about that in future videos. But for me, I believe that self-doubt is the internal force of uncertainty. When we're in the unknown, we're in an uncertain environment, I believe that a natural human response is to doubt ourselves. How do we know we're going to be able to perform in this new and uncertain environment? How do we know? So to doubt ourselves, I feel, is natural. But there's ways and methods, and and I talk about ways and methods of dealing with doubt. So as I said, I'm going to come on to talk about that. But that feels like a more natural response. Now, for me, the pursuit of confidence when we're in uncertainty, I think can become a very flawed strategy, because the pursuit of confidence can become about pretending that we know what we're doing and having to put on that front that we know what we're doing. And that can become quite false. And once we start getting into that kind of falsehood, we have to try and keep up with that. And that can become a very messy place to be. And that can often just spill over into overconfidence. So overconfidence, I believe, comes from, that's when we overcompensate for feeling insecure in an environment. We don't know what we're doing. We go into an environment, we don't really know what we're doing. We're not feeling safe, we're not feeling familiar, we're not feeling like we know what we're doing. So we overcompensate, and that comes out as overconfidence. And then that can just be like building up a house of cards that can come down in any moment. So I believe the pursuit of confidence is really not the way, particularly in this path. So the pursuit of trust and faith is slightly different to that. It's a different kind of energy. The pursuit of trust and faith is more about that kind of real inner experience and about creating that strong and stable foundation. When we trust ourselves to be able to go into challenging situations and to be able to respond to them. And if we don't know what to do, then it's going to be okay. So that's much more the kind of energy we're looking for here. Now, what does it mean to trust ourselves? Have a think about that. Have a think about what it means to you to trust yourself. I've learned to trust myself. I've learned through my experience of life that I've been able to come through challenging situations and come through them okay. And that's always been my experience. Every kind of challenging or difficult situation I've been through, I've come through actually a stronger person, and I've created a resilience. And that for me has developed a foundation of trust. So that, again, that comes with experience, doesn't it? Integrity is a really important value to me. So I trust myself to be able to respond with integrity in challenging situations. When I'm in a place where I'm feeling attacked, or I'm feeling like I'm unwelcome, or feeling like I'm misunderstood, to act with integrity may not always be my first response, but I trust myself to know that that integrity is there somewhere. And even if I do make a mistake, I trust myself to know that I can correct that mistake to the best of my ability. I trust myself to know that I can look after myself these days. I trust that I know what kind of stuff I need to do to look after myself on a daily basis to keep myself emotionally resilient and emotionally strong, and a good person to be and a good person to be around. So I trust myself that I know how to look after myself these days. And the faith, do I have faith in myself? Well, the faith, I guess, is acting as if I trust. Now, that might sound really quite simple, but I tell you where this becomes a real challenge is in the dark moments of life that we all get, the dark nights of the soul, those kind of real low points. We can't just have trust and faith in ourselves, and this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky. I think it's really important to have trust in ourselves, but it's important not only to trust ourselves, it's important to be able to trust something other than ourselves. And as I said, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. It's talked about quite often that we are in a crisis of trust in our society nowadays, and it's very difficult to look at the institutions and the people in authority out there and think, are they just doing what's best for themselves, or are they going to do what's best for the society, or are they going to do have they got my interest at heart? It's difficult to understand that. We've got all the fake news out there, and we've got the kind of, the inequalities in society. It's very difficult when you kind of grown up in this environment of uncertainty and insecurity to be able to trust what's out there. So this is, as I said, this is where it gets tricky. Now, trust something other than ourselves. Now, then, do you believe in a higher power? What's your belief in a higher power? I believe there's something out there, and the way I look at that, I've spoken about it before, is I do not believe I'm the greatest power in this world, and that's really a comfort for me to understand that. But I don't know what I believe. I call myself an agnostic, and I think that's probably the only way I really know how to be, because I can't tell you that I believe in a God or anything like that, because I just don't. It's not my experience. And sometimes I look at people who do really have that real strong belief in that religion, and I get a bit jealous, because I think, what would it be like to have that belief? How comforting would that be in the dark moments? But I just don't have it. So this is when it gets a little bit tricky, in those really dark moments. And this is when it becomes really important to kind of trust something beyond ourselves. And to have that faith is acting as if we trust in something beyond ourselves. If you're like me and you don't really know what there is out there, and you don't really know what to trust, those dark moments can be really, really tricky, because if we end up kind of totally self-reliant, we can just become self-centred, and then that also feels just a little bit fragile as well, because, I've always been able to trust myself in the past. I've proved myself from past experience that I've always been able to come through, but what if? What if something happens that I can't get through? What if something happens, what if, I don't know, there's all sorts of threats out there, aren't there? What if the rug is just pulled beneath my feet and I can't cope? Again, I'm getting a bit older than I was now, so, when you get older, things get more difficult to cope with sometimes. So, you can get a little bit more vulnerable. It's really easy when things are going well to think, I'm really in line with the universe, and the universe is looking after me, and everything happens for a reason. But in those dark moments, when you're very alone with this, can you believe that? I find that a real challenge. But I tell you what I have learned, and this is what I think is really important, probably for emotional resilience. If I want to be able to trust the world, if I want to be able to trust other people, I have to be a trustworthy person, and I have to act as if I trust other people as well. I have to open myself up to trust. And there's times when I've been hurt, there's times when I've been that trust has been betrayed, but again, I trust myself not to be able to draw the boundaries that I need around those kind of situations, and to be able to move on and look after myself. So I trust myself in those situations, but as I said, it really is important to try to extend that trust beyond yourself. And it does start with me. So if I want to be able to create an environment of trust, I have to be a trustworthy person. And that's something that's within my control. That's something that I can work with. So to be a trustworthy person, I have to be a person of my word. If I'm going to say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do my very best to do that thing. If I'm not sure I'm going to do that thing, I'm not going to commit to it. Or if I can't do that thing, there's going to be a very good reason why I can't do that thing. I'm going to be the reliable friend. I'm going to try to be the reliable friend, and I'm going to look for the friends who are reliable for me. I'm going to try not to judge other people too harshly, because I know that I'm not perfect and there's so many mistakes that I make in the world. So maybe think about what it means, for you to be a trustworthy person, and how you can increase trust, and then see how that manifests into your own experience around creating a trustworthy environment. I hope you find those little reflections helpful, and if you've got anything to add or anything to argue with, then get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. So in this phase, I'm going to be talking about a series of tools and resources that I've learned to develop emotional resilience. So I hope you'll keep coming back for that.